My dear niece, I collected all the data regarding your case. Do come. Your uncle. Have a seat, my friends. Well, I prepared an abundance of data for you regarding your case. But first, I would like to ask you, what do you think can be called a fact? Well, something that actually happened. Right. I agree. So it's something that actually happened. So, what do you think of this situation? Dasher, I think you have a handyman by the name of Oleg that creates a lot of trouble for you, don't you? Yes, exactly. Well, let's say that this handyman comes to you and says, Dasher, I think that such and such a manager doesn't treat the clients quite right, and I think that he shouldn't get another bonus. Is that possible that you have such a conversation or such a message? Yes. All right. Is that a fact? No. Well, it's what Oleg himself inferred. It's his opinion. Right. But note that it's not a fact, right? Right. Very well. But Dasher, is it possible that you make some sort of a decision about that manager based on his opinion? I could. Absolutely. But how should one make decisions in business? Based on opinions or based on facts? What do you think? Based on facts, of course. Of course, based on facts. And in business, what illustrates a fact? Nothing other than indicators. By the way, do you remember what your case is called? Key performance indicators. So we're not talking about anything other than statistics. Let's define this important term. A statistic is a number or amount compared to an earlier number or amount of the same thing. Statistics refer to the quantity of work done or the value of it. L. Ron Hubbard. Well, alright, so we have statistics. And I have a question for you. What statistics do you keep in your business? Well, income. We count our expenses. Chairs sold. The amount of chairs sold. Good. What else? Of course, we count the profits. Naturally, you're in business after all. Alright, is there anything else? Well, of course. We have individual sales by manager. I mean, how much each person sells. Good. That's sort of a sub-statistic of the gross income statistic. So it tells you what it consists of, right? Alright. Are you familiar with the concept of the org board? Of course. The 7-division org board. Yes. Let me remind you of the main principle. The org board is a certain route to create the final result for the whole company, right? Yes. And what is it that statistics measure? A certain result, don't they? Well, a certain result, yes. So you mentioned 5 statistics. Let's put dots on the org board in order to illustrate what results are measured by the statistics you named. Shall we? Let's do it. So, you said profit. Who's interested in profits? We are. You are, first and foremost. Let's put that over Department 21. Right there, over the Office of the Founders. Next, you said gross income. Yes? And that's a measurement of the Division 2 result. If you remember, the final result of Division 2 reads as income greater than disbursements plus reserves. Exactly. Very well. You also mentioned another statistic, expenses or disbursements, and that's accounting. That's accounting. Very good, Dasher. You mentioned the statistic of chairs sold, produced and sold, right? Where does that go? In production. Exactly. That's Division 4. And the 5th statistic, is the statistic of individual sales managers. As we said, that's a sort of a sub-statistic of the overall VFP of Division 2. Well, salespeople can also be in Division 6, if you remember. If we talk about first-time sales, right? So, we have only 5 dots over the whole org board as a result. And I have the following conclusion for you. A bit of a sad conclusion. Why is it sad? Because you, my dears, are not fully controlling the whole org board. You can only see 4 dots on the whole org board. And I want to emphasize once again that this is a very important conclusion, and I want you to see it clearly and to duplicate it. The product is created in sequence, from division to division, and enters into the overall result of the whole company. Right? What is it you want from your business? Well, we want it to flourish and to prosper. You want money and profit. Of course. Do you want money? Yes. Very well. And having money depends on the amount of chairs you produce and exchange with your clients, right? Yes. So if a breakdown occurs on this whole org board chain, then how could you know where it occurred if you only measure 4 or 5 places with your indicators? Well, but don't be upset. You're actually not alone, if that's any consolation at all. Because a great many companies, as we have found out, do just that. They keep a very limited number of statistics. The minimum set that I should mention here, the minimum set of statistics to keep should be the overall statistics of the 7 divisions, and those statistics have an exact name. They are called GDSs. A gross division statistic, GDS, a statistic on which each whole division is judged as to conditions. While this gross divisional statistic does not cover all the statistics of the division, it is the primary divisional statistic. L. Ron Hubbard. Have you ever seen a pilot's cockpit? Well, yes, of course. Do you remember? They have a multitude of various devices and dials. Yes. Why are they there? Well, for the pilot to see what the overall situation is, you know, how the flight is going, how to fly the plane. Basically, we're talking about life, right? About safety. And when we talk about safety, about viability, then no one has any doubts whether those devices are needed or not. Right? Yes. So why is it different in business? Why don't we measure our indicators in business? If I remember correctly, you didn't come to me because you were living in clover. Well, yeah. You were worried and concerned about your company's viability. Isn't that right? Yes. So here's the conclusion. If you only measure or only see 2 or 3 or 5 indicators, but don't see all the rest, your right wing could be about to fall off, and you wouldn't see it happening, or even know that it was happening. And in certainty you keep on flying, supposedly, but you're in for some serious trouble soon. But you don't see that. By the way, would you like to increase your gross income by a factor of 2 at least? Of course. Ah, what an answer in unison, my friends. Then it would make sense for you to learn about another very important tool in the technology of management. And it's called the Organization Information Center. I have recently developed a means which should increase income at least double in any organization if applied. With a single glance at the board, the executive can see his org's weak points. It will practically end emergencies and should promptly increase income and staff pay. L. Ron Hubbard. You told me about the 5 indicators you measure in your business, remember? Yes. I would like to lead you to one very important conclusion. Tell me this. You keep these statistics, but how do you determine them? How do you track them? With numbers? Yeah, right, with numbers. And tables, right? Of course. I got it. Let's take a look here. Look, we have a certain set of numbers here. 28, 32, 25, 17, 42, 19. Let's suppose that it's a set of numbers and it measures something. Doesn't matter what. Tell me, what can you see in looking at these numbers? Well, one value is greater than the other. And it seems like that it's right. Yeah. But can you determine any sort of a trend of where this is all going? Up, down, or staying the same? Well, hardly, but maybe it's possible somehow. Dasher? Hardly. I would say that it's next to impossible. So what is our conclusion here? How should you keep statistics? As a graph, I think. Yes, precisely. And I was trying to figure out why these tables were so annoying to me. Congratulations on this simple and yet important discovery.